Danny Flexen for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by Dennis Hobson, veteran promoter. Don't mean to make you sound old, but you have been doing this a hell of a long time.
I started in junior school, Danny.
Yeah, long paper round.
Long paper round, yeah. But time flies, doesn't it? You know,
Still
time
coming
flies.
up
But
with new ideas, though. Still coming up with new concepts. The newest one, which will debut on the 20th of November. I don't want to give it away. I'd rather you tell it, but just tell us how you came up with the idea.
I think this game it can be very disillusioning. I think you'll know that, Danny. But what gets you through in the boxing game is the big nights and the memories and stuff like that. It's not like any other industry. I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur, I suppose you'd call me. Got numerous businesses, but while ever there's a passion to go and try and win something with somebody or help them further their career, I think you'll always come up with an idea. It's when the passion's gone that you won't come up with anything more creative. And my secretary, I call her Miss Moneypenny, Michelle. She said, "I'm going to a drive-in, Dennis, down at Alton Dog Stadium. They're doing a drive." I went, "Oh yeah, oh, you showing me the pictures?" Anyway, I went, "Why can't we do that?" Anyway, it's grown from there, and then my missus has been looking online because she's had her own businesses and stuff, and done a bit of export and importing stuff. So we found these pods as well. So we're going to create some VIP pods. We're going to do some big screens, and obviously it's a drive-in. Now the thought while I was thinking about it is. It's a smashing fight. Obviously, you'll agree with me. Kyle Yousaf against Tommy Frank. Two Sheffield kids, two undefeated kids, both very capable. So if ever you mentioned Alan Shearer, if ever you wanted to guarantee goals, if you want to guarantee a good fight, I can more or less guarantee this is a quality fight. It's got all the ingredients. Bit of needle, but there's a bit of bragging rights because they're both from Sheffield, come from quality gyms, and. So I think I'm going to aptly name it the straightener in the car park.
Yeah, I think that'll do good business. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I like the name. Just tell us a bit about how it's going to work. 'Cause you said there's going to be VIP pods, but in essence, can people just drive in their car and watch the boxing from where they are? Will you only be able to see it on the screens? Will you be able to see the ring? How's it going to work exactly?
That sounded a bit like KFC, that, Danny. No, it's they've got a pre-book, and there's been another criteria set down by the government. It's got to be involved with this track and trace. So, say you were coming with some pals in a car or your family, we've got to know every name and address or number of everybody who's attending. So we've got to, the goalposts are moving as every day goes by, as you probably know. But we've just got to move with. And watch BBC News or Sky TV News and listen what the latest criteria is. But I think we're on pretty solid ground as regards the pods and the driving, because hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers, we're not going to go into a full lockdown because obviously the economy is suffering enough, or it has suffered enough. So I don't think we can go that far backwards. I think the government's trying to find a way to manage it as good as possible. So I think, if anything, we'll get a little bit more relaxed, but I'm probably on solid ground saying this is probably the best we're going to get by getting these pods where we could get 10 people in these pods. They're totally see-through. We can eat them. We're gonna provide food for the VIPs. The cars they're gonna be placed in such a way that they'll get as good a view as possible, and it's going to be more or less first come, first served. And but we're only going to be able to allow a certain amount, so we're going to put probably 7 fights on. It's going to sell out, I would have thought, in no time. It's not going to be as cheap as a normal small hall show, but it will be a novelty, and we'll make it a bit special, with the big screens, and it will be. What I've got in my mind, it will feel as though you're coming to an event, and that's
it's like a big night out, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's something that we'll talk about. Hopefully, when this horrible virus passes in the next year or 2 years, hopefully it isn't 2 years, sooner rather than later, it'll be, what did you do in 2020? Well, how did you go on with the boxing? Well, I created this to get some kids on, to get a title fight on, and move forward. And at least we had a go. We didn't sit on his backside and play the victim like a lot of people tend to do in this country.
Set the scene for us about the main event itself. Tommy Frank's someone who's huge amount of talent. You've worked with him for a long time. Got Kyle Yousaf, who comes from that great Grant Smith gym as well, sparring, I guess, the likes of Charlie Edwards, Sonny Edwards, and so on.
Yeah.
Just tell us a bit more about that fight and what makes it so good. Because like you said, it's got all the ingredients.
Well, Tommy was supposed to be earmarked to fight for an IBO world title against Maximo Flores March the 27th. So it had been talked about, maybe, there's different kids. The flyweight division is bubbling pretty much so. Sonny Edwards has been calling Tommy out for a while, and obviously there's Charlie there, and then you've got Kyle. And I thought if we could get hold of a world title, a version of a world title, then let's do some of these domestic fights for a bigger title. So I thought if we could get hold of the IBO, then let's do the Sonny Edwards, then let's do a Kyle Yousaf if they want to fight, and let's make it for and bill it as a world title. So that's what was in my head, and then I've been getting I've had one or two chips at me. I've read that why don't he fancy his fighter? He won't let him fight Sonny Edwards. Won't let him fight. Well, it's all about timing, as you know, Danny, and timing. Fortunately for me, I've managed to get kids world title shots when people, other promoters haven't fancied these kids, or other managers haven't fancied these kids who I've managed and promoted. And sometimes it's just about timing. And I thought, well, what is the timing? And that's how we're playing it. And then with the lockdown, I thought, well, I still want to get a decent fight. Tommy's always expressed a desire to fight for a British title, and Kyle Yousaf were in a mandatory position for the British. So I get on very well with his family. He's boxed on numerous shows of mine. Always got on well with him. I said, "Do you fancy doing that?" And we said, "Well, we'd rather do it for a world title, but the prestigious British belt. They both want to fight for it." So, some of the best fights in history have been for the British title. So they're both hungry to go and win a British title. Let's get it on. Whoever gets beat, it's not the end of the career. They just class it as a learner. And I've been in that position numerous times, as you know, with like Clinton Woods when he lost to Roy Jones. It were a learner. It were a learning fight. At that time, obviously, I were like gutted because my fighter gets beat, but like, we're never going to beat Roy Jones at that stage. But he learned from the experience. And if you learn from the experience, it's only a good thing. So it's a 50-50 fight. They're two very capable kids. They're both from Sheffield. They're both undefeated. They're both very stylish, classy, inside and outside the ring. They conduct themselves in a proper manner. But when they get into the ring, it can be fireworks. They're both, not powder puff punches. You might look at the record and say, well, they haven't stopped that many, but let's come on, the flyweights. And usually you don't get, unless it's an Azuma Nelson type fighter, I know you were featherweight, but, the flyweights don't tend to be KO specialists, but these aren't powder puff punchers, these two fighters. So they've got a bit of everything in the makeup, the pair of them, and that's why it's such a great 50-50. And it's a great TV fight, and we're looking to put it on Eurosport. But I think the whole event, what we're making it is an experience. And I remember going to Tottenham Hotspur. A good friend of mine looks after the hospitality there, Andy O'Sullivan, and he gave me a tour of the ground. And I was having a look around, and I thought, unbelievable ground, innit? And he went, "Do you know what this is, Dennis? What we tried to create," and I said it at the same time, is an experience.
Yeah.
It's not the football, but as though you want to get there a couple of hours before the match, and you'd still want to hang about because you want to absorb the experience. And that's what I hope, in a lot smaller way, obviously, but in its own context, that's what I want to try and create here, rather than cheapen it and just put a couple of small screens. I want to get the biggest screens I can, or one big massive one. Obviously, we've got to get a canopy. I'm just going to try and create the best experience that we can because I think the fight deserves it.
And you said you're looking to put it on Eurosport. Will that be in the UK on Eurosport as well, or will you be looking at maybe free sports like you have done in the past?
No, I think we'll be putting it on the UK Eurosport.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to kick off there with a smashing fight, and obviously we found one. And I just take my hat off to everybody concerned on Kyle's side and obviously on Tommy's side, that nobody and ahhed really about the fight. It was just a matter of what date we can get the fight on. Kyle's been going to get married all year, but because of COVID, he's been having to move his dates. So we worked around that a little bit, but they were always going to be a bit of compromise on both sides, and it hadn't been too difficult, Danny. I mean, because everybody's been pretty reasonable when we've been trying to make this fight, and since I've announced that we're doing this fight on November the 20th, the phone's been ringing because kids are wanting to get on the show, because, as you know, there's a lot of kids out there that's not getting any work.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just going to be obviously working with the kids who we normally work with, and we're putting a smashing little undercard together. And there's a great little fight on there. I said little; it means a lot to both, and it's going to be probably an area title fight. And Stafford Ahmed against Kane Salvin. It's a great fight. One's from Glenn's gym, who works with us, and one's from Fuki's gym, our gym.
Right.
So it's going to be get the bragging rights on them too. So that's another pick and fight, and we might do a winner takes all type of thing. Where if I said to him, look, you want to put the bag in the middle? It's Kieran Farrell come up with a bit of an idea with this, and I've just expanded on it. And we might ask them if they want to do a winner takes all type of thing.
Oh yeah.
So we're working on that, but I think they will do. So that's another smashing fight. Obviously, we've got Cash Ali, and I've been getting plenty of inquiries about Cash, but we've got high hopes. We've got high hopes for Cash, so he'll be on the show, and you'll see the development he's attained, hopefully under Richard Towers, who I believe is doing a fantastic job with him, and hopefully we can take him to that next level. So the show's coming together. Obviously, I've got to make the big fight, the title fight, but the undercard will be interesting as well. And I'm just talking to one or two of the other kids who we work with about filling the rest of the card.
And just before I let you go, one thing I did want to ask: you've been in the sport a long time. You've worked with everyone from Ricky Hatton and Clinton Woods right down the card to the journeyman and everything. What is it that keeps you motivated and keeps you in love with the sport? Because you don't do it for money, I don't think.
I do. I'd be selling Big Issue if I weren't a boxing promoter, Danny. I don't think so. Boxing would have ended up if there's a lot of boxing promoters having to sell Big Issue if you were just relying on the money from boxing. It's just my dad was a compulsive gambler, Danny, and it's like being an entrepreneur. There's a risk involved working for yourself and being in business. And boxing, really, unless you've got a BT contract or Sky who's just going to feed you big dough to like put shows together, then it's a gamble. And there's a lot of small old promoters like Steve Wood, Carl Greaves, and people like that. And you've got to take your hat off to them, because they keep doing it, putting show after show on, and they're risking their own money. So as much the way we make it work, I've got a great partner in Steve Crump, who works with me on numerous fronts, but he's a big boxing fan. And the buzz, I've done the big fights, I've done the small hall, I've done the big fights, and I like to see Steve's face when we achieve something. When Tommy won the Commonwealth title, it was a buzz for me. Obviously, I've been there, but it's still a thrill winning something at any level. And it's just, that is the drug. That is the drug, like being a compulsive gambler, being it's like boxing's a drug. I'm sure you get it, Danny, because I'm sure you could be a journalist or correspondent on all sorts of different in any industry, but boxing gets you, and it gets in your blood, and it's definitely, and it's always seems to stay there, and it's the thrill of achieving something. Especially, I've managed to do it, fortunately, and I think I'm blessed that I've managed to do it with kids who shouldn't necessarily do it. Bringing Carl Thompson back from retirement, obviously Ricky were established, but I broke America with Ricky. Clinton Woods, it's a story on its own. Nobody fancied Clinton. Jamie McDonald, he weren't fancy. He just lost 2 domestic fights before he come to me. And then you've got Stuart Hall. Nobody fancied. He were on the scrap heap. Stuart Hall took him to a world title. Whoever thought Stuart Hall would win a world title? So they're all, and they're just part of some of the journey I've been on. So if you can win something and get kids fighting and punching above the weight, so to speak, pardon the pun, but overachieving, you might call it, that is an even bigger buzz. And that is, I look at myself sometimes and think, yeah, you can have, we all want a Sky contract, we all want a BBC contract, and we all want a BT contract, where you've got a bigger pot to play with, but go and do it with limited resources with kids who aren't Olympians. That's like being a Brian Clough for boxing.
Brilliant. Well, I really appreciate your time, Dennis. I wish you the very best of luck for the 20th of November, and I look forward to seeing how it all looks on TV.
Look forward to seeing you there, and you're welcome. You, Robert, and all the team, welcome at any of my shows. You know that, Danny, and it's always a pleasure, pal. You're a quality operator.
Oh, thanks, mate. That's really nice of you. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Thanks, Danny. Have a good one. Sorry about being delayed today with the things are a bit different. It gets in the way sometimes.
No worries at all, mate. You're a busy man. Take care.